So let's talk about one American's experience of London. This lady moved to America from America to London just before the pandemic, and then the pandemic struck, and she has thoughts on what London is like and how it is different to America. But what I found interesting is not really what she said in this piece. It's what she didn't say in this piece. But anyway, before we begin, we've covered London a lot on lotus.com. If you want to support us, go sign up. Go watch some of the voluminous content that we have there, such as what Mizzy reveals about London, or the continual decline of London, or us going through previous decades of what London looked like compared to now, because everything's in decline.
It was a lot nicer back in the day.
And safer. But anyway, so we'll go on to this article. American woman reveals what shocked her most after moving to London. I can't pronounce this name, right?
All right.
Olamide Modupi?
Sounds close enough to me.
Average American name.
Average foreign name.
Yeah, well, yeah. She started a video series of what she had to learn the hard way about moving out of the country. She was originally from Los Angeles, California. Spoke to Insider about how she moved during the pandemic at age 29 to get a master's degree. Her intent in publishing a multi-part confessions is to help her followers understand the realities of moving to the UK with information they couldn't easily find online.
I mean, if they watched us, they probably could find it pretty easy.
Probably, but it's interesting how, like, she's clearly a well-to-do Californian, and she's leaving California. It's just very interesting.
And decided to come to London instead.
Yes.
Maybe not the best idea.
Well, I mean, no, to be fair.
To be fair, London's probably better than San Francisco.
Way better than San Francisco, right? London, we take issues with London as Englishmen, right? We think that, you know, there are things happening there that shouldn't be happening. The city is not being governed in the best interest of the native population. But it isn't what San Francisco is, right? The government isn't simply funding homeless drug addicts to fill every street and alleyway in London, right? That's not happening.
Maybe Brixton, but not the rest of London.
Okay, maybe some small areas. I'm not saying that can't grow. But if you walk around London, you don't find massive homeless encampments like you do in America.
No, in fact, I will admit some parts of London are actually still quite nice.
Yes, some parts are.
Unsurprisingly, especially around the Westminster area.
Yes, well, unsurprisingly.
As you would expect.
Yeah, but generally, London isn't the hovel that Portland or Los Angeles or San Francisco or a bunch of other American cities are. New York.
It's just that it's probably not what an American would expect London to be.
Well, not what a regular American would expect London to be. I don't know what this, where this person's actual, like, you know, her family origins are from. But anyway, she says she found out that water wasn't fluoridated, and therefore she got cavities. It's a weird thing to notice, isn't it? She says, I've never in my life had cavities until I moved to London. Although she was still using toothpaste from America, drinking the water lowered her fluoride consumption. Now, I don't know much about fluoride, right? But I am aware that there are studies that show that fluoride makes people docile.
It actively reduces men's testosterone.
Yeah. And the reason...
I mean, I think we still have fluoride in the water in England, just nowhere near as much, it seems.
Apparently not, right? Because, you know, people are like, oh, well, they put fluoride in the water for your teeth. It's like, do you think I think the government gives a damn about the quality of my teeth?
Yeah.
No. You know, I think they put fluoride in the water to control the population to make them docile. And it's like, right, okay. But if this American comes over and is like, wow, it's like you guys have got no fluoride in there at all. It's like, wow, how fluoridated is your bloody water?
Well, I mean, she is from California, and I have often wondered why Californian men speak the way they do.
That's a great point.
And they might have something to do with it.
They all have really nice teeth too. I'd happily, as she says, she switched to UK toothpaste, which apparently contains more fluoride because it's not in the water. And just for anyone who doesn't know, you don't actually eat your own toothpaste. You brush your teeth and you spit it out. So you're not consuming the fluoride.
I still use non-fluoride toothpaste, though, just to be safe.
I didn't even know it existed.
I don't want to be absorbing this stuff through my gums.
Fair point. I should probably get some non-fluoride toothpaste. But the point is, then her dental issues went back to normal. So I just find that really weird. That's such a weird thing for a first name. Yeah, I'm just not being drugged by the government.
This is terrible. How can I change this?
My teeth are suffering. Anyway, she goes on to talk about renting, which again, there are just some strange, weird cultural differences that I would not have noticed because I've never lived in America, right? She says renting in London is a nightmare compared to New York. And also, she described a bunch of her Brooklyn landlords as nightmares as well, right? So her apartment search in London was different. She says she was looking for a space in New York, which meant applying for several units at once. Excuse me. And waiting to hear which one you've been accepted to. But in London, you're more likely to pay a holding deposit to secure the space before signing a lease agreement. And so that means you can only apply to one thing at a time. And if you withdraw, you lose that deposit. And so the only way to get the deposit back is if they deny you. So, okay, but doesn't that mean you're more likely to get the place you're looking for? Like if you go to a place, you say to the landlord, okay, yeah, I like this place. I'd like to live here. And I was like, okay, well, I'd like you to pay a deposit and then we'll get the paperwork sorted and then you can move in.
It makes more sense from the landlord's perspective, certainly, because you don't want people just saying yes
Yeah.
and then dropping out and saying yes and dropping out, because you need to get your own affairs in order.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just abuse the system. But also it means that you know you've got that place because you've paid the deposit. So it's guarantees for both parties. So there is a sense to it. Like, what's wrong with that? Instead, the American system is just like, okay, well, we'll see. Like there's going to be loads of disappointment and uncertainty in the system.
I mean, there's plenty to complain about when it comes to UK housing, especially in London.
Like
so
we don't
why
complain about it
this?
every day, you know.
Yeah, why is it this that she's decided to remark on? That's very strange.
Well, exactly. That's exactly it. It's like, look, this is actually like an orderly way of doing things. Like, okay, you know, if you're like, yes, I want that apartment. I've gone for you the apartment. Okay, I'll pay like, you know, the grand or whatever the deposit is. It's probably more than that because it's London. But the point is, then you're locked in. They're locked in, and now the paperwork goes through. Everything is orderly. Everyone got what they expected out of that arrangement. And she's like, well, that's just weird. You know, I expected to go to half dozen different apartments and let down a bunch of times and then get one that I didn't really want, but it was my third choice and I didn't get the other two. So what am I going to do? It's like, that's a good system, you know, but it requires you to be invested.
American shock that British expect you to stick to your word, apparently.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It's just really weird. It's just organizational skills. That's what I'm saying. She also admitted that she had to pay 6 months of rent up front when she first moved because of her student status and her roommate was unemployed. It's like, okay, well, I mean, that's never happened to me. I've never had to pay 6 months rent in advance.
Me neither.
But then, you know, I guess you are a student and I guess they're thinking, yeah, you're getting a student loan. So
and also your roommate is completely unemployed.
Oh, no, actually, no, I did.
Okay.
No, when I was at university, no, that's exactly right. You do that.
Oh, yeah.
You get like, I don't know, $4,000.
I've been to uni sooner, more recently than you have. So yeah, you do actually. You're right.
Yeah, and so you do actually pay 6 months in advance. So what are you even complaining about? Like you got a student loan of a big wad of cash, and they're like, okay, we'll take the rent out of that, and then you don't have to worry about it for 6 months. But yeah, because I mean, like I'm just thinking, you know, privately, I've never had to do that, but then I've always been an adult and employed. But anyway, she also, and this I just found really entertaining, right? She describes that pay cycles were usually paid monthly.
That's normal.
Not in America, apparently. In America, it's every 2 weeks.
I mean, some businesses over here do that, but most of them do monthly.
I've never heard of it.
I've seen it happen. Some even have done weekly, but most of those are like cash in hand jobs.
But the thing she says, you actually get paid out here monthly, not bi-weekly. If that sounds scary, trust me, it was scary for me too.
Well, you can't stop yourself spending money.
Well, exactly. What kind of impulse control is this? That's exactly what I thought, right? The shocked worker opened up about how she had to budget more because of this. Oh no, I had to be an adult for an entire month. I couldn't just be an irresponsible child with my money. This is terrible.
I mean, for her, maybe. Yeah, I suppose so. I was never taught how to control myself.
There's not enough fluoride in the water.
I'm not docile enough to be able to deal with this.
She says, I was even splitting the check that I got into 2 different pots on my bank app, then paying myself twice a month just so I could have a little bit of a transition. My God. Like, it's like children. Like, okay, yeah, you've got a month to live. Can't you work that out yourself? No, I've got to split it up on my banking app.
And she was,
okay.
I mean, she was forced to make a sensible decision to help herself budget, and it sounds like she's actually been able to do it. So, congratulations, you've actually improved a skill.
Yeah, exactly. You've leveled up there.
These are not the sorts of complaints I was expecting someone coming over to London to have.
Exactly, right?
These are things I don't even think about.
Well, exactly. Right. That's why I thought this would be an interesting thing to do. Just because I read through it and I was like, because I was expecting them to be the sort of complaints we might have had or something. But no, these are really weird complaints. And she's got a few good things that she's noticed. She says she was impressed, thrilled to find that she gets holiday time. So you get like the 25 days of holiday when you sign a contract with the company, right? And then she says this: in the UK, the second you sign your contract, all of your holiday days are there. They're available to you. You get it immediately. So you're booking trips immediately. It's like, what is wrong with your impulse control, Americans?
No wonder she can't figure out what to do with the money for a month.
No.
She spent it all on trips to Spain.
Yeah, and she spent all the holiday days on the first week that she's at work. So what are you doing? You act like an adult, for Christ's sake. And then she's speaking about the bar culture in the UK. She's like, there's no such thing as a free pour here, honey. They are going to measure it. They're going to scrape the top off, and that's going to be as much as you get. Yeah, but you don't need to tip either.
Yeah.
You literally get what you pay for, and you pay for what you expect to pay.
If you're expecting treatment like the bar staff are your friends, then the only time you'll expect that is if the bar staff are actually your friends.
Yeah, if you live in the place and you know the person.
I've had that before when I lived in a pub.
Sure.
And you know all of the people.
Sure. But yeah. When I went to university, a friend of mine used to essentially run a pub and would go there. And yeah, I mean,
he'd treat you like a mate, but that's what you expect. You don't just expect random strangers to treat you like
exactly.
that. Because they're not having to beg for tips.
If I go into a random bar in London, I expect to get what I pay for and to pay for what I get. We've given you some and now you need to give us a tip. It's like, no, I don't. I need to pay whatever is required. Anyway. They also, and the last thing, you're going to want to read the return policy every time you order something. There's little tolerance for opening a package, using an item, and then trying to send it back.
Is there in America?
Apparently.
There must be.
This is so bizarre. So I got this thing, I used it for a bit, and then I decided I didn't want to send it back, and the company's like, yeah, okay. Well, why? But anyway, what I just found interesting is there's no mention of the things that we talk about when we talk about American cities. Right?
Yeah.
Like we don't, there's no, she doesn't talk about a political environment. She doesn't talk about rampant homelessness or drugs or anything like that. She doesn't talk about, like the excessive politics. She doesn't even talk about taxes.
Those are probably better from where in London than from where she came from in the first place. I'm surprised there's no mention of the fact. This is one of the strangest things I always know about how American shops work is that the price as it's advertised under the product doesn't include the tax. So you have to do the tax in your head as you're going along, or just be surprised when you get to the till.
It's really
at how much
insufferable.
extra. Why? That's such a stupid way of doing it. Why not just include the tax in the advertised price?
I'm guessing because legally they can do that. And that way they're like, so this makes
discounts.
Exactly. This makes everything look cheaper. And so people are more inclined to spend more, even though they're not actually spending, they're not actually saving any money. I'm sure that's the reason.
Really
I don't know. Americans, feel free to correct me on this. But there are things that your country does that are weird, and that's one of them. But anyway, no mention of any of the complaints that we would have about London. But okay, fair enough. She's an immigrant to London. Why would she complain about that? But no, she doesn't notice that, oh, wait, this isn't a place that's falling apart, at least nearly as badly as an American city. The complaints, in fact, were just really weird and kind of bourgeois. But I just found that interesting because these are aspects of the difference between Britain and America that I just hadn't noticed. We expect impulse control. Anyway.
Thank you for watching that segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters. If you enjoyed, why not visit our website, where you can get the podcast live, uncensored, in full, and for free from 1 o'clock UK time every weekday. And while you're there, for as little as £5 a month, you can watch all of our premium content. For example, Stelios's philosophical series Symposium, where in this latest episode, he and my colleague Josh discuss the merits of spirited disagreement. And if you'd like to follow what Stelios is putting out, you can follow him on Twitter at @panayitu90st and the rest of us over at @lotuseaters_com. Until next time, goodbye.